This project was a complete failure. All these analytics and data tracking is complete bullshit and absolutely useless. We bought our dream car, so many people give up right before they reach the point. What happened was probably the biggest and the most important lesson for any CEO. 2024 has been pretty intense, and we had so many highlights and milestones with so much hard work. So I wanted to share a summary of what happened in 2024 with the lessons learned, but I'm also doing it to kind of document our progress over the years, so I can look back on these 10 years from now and see how far we've come. Let's start with the biggest achievement, which was building our second $1 million product. So the biggest highlight and the largest project we've ever done was releasing the second part of DevSecOps Bootcamp, which part 2 alone was like a whole massive project on its own, with few engineers working on this with me. Creating the world's best DevSecOps Bootcamp is a pretty great achievement. So even if we hadn't done anything else this year, I would still be proud because of this one thing. Now, this was a challenge. There were maybe a handful of such products in the world by the time we started working on it. I actually bought all the competitors' products and did every single one of them from start to finish, checking all the materials, reading the reviews, because I wanted to make sure that ours was at least 10 times better than any good one out there. I then hired experts to complement my engineering experience because, when you have experience and knowledge from multiple companies, across different projects and countries even, you have a more all-rounded, non-biased view of things. So I planned out the perfect production-grade IT architectures for various tools, and I asked these engineers that I hired to implement this with the best practices. I had the first engineer deliver results, and it looked great. But right at the end, before we were done, we actually hit an obstacle. And I didn't want to accept some workarounds and making things complicated for our students. So I actually decided to scratch the almost completed demo completely. And I said, we need to do this from scratch because I didn't like the solution. So I hired another engineer and we worked through this from start and created a solution that I was absolutely happy and confident about. Now, I had to, of course, prepare the lectures to explain these super complicated things easily with the right flow and order of explanation and so on. So after this intensive work of building the entire architecture and these demo projects, I sat down and scripted the course chapter by chapter every single day for 5 months. I would go to coffee shop every morning and do a 4-hour deep work session. I basically knew the coffee shop owner and all the staff working there by name because I was there every single day. Once I was done, I locked myself in my office where I had my recording set up, and I did 2-week intensive recording of the prepared script. So just the recording with everything prepared took 2 weeks. And I was probably doing 10 to 12 hour days without anything else in between. So that was like my pure entire focus during the time. It was pretty challenging, but I just wanted to complete this project and to also kind of test my boundaries of how much I could do or if I could complete this project and do this in just 2 weeks. And so this entire project basically went from January to July. That's where we released and published the final product. But of course, during this 7 months, we had lots of other things going on and lots of other things happening in parallel. So let's go back in time in January, where we hired a business analyst. Now that was a big project that we started because I wanted to understand our data across all our platforms. And I felt like I had no insights into our numbers, like conversion rates from websites, from social media, email, like none of it. And I believed that if I knew the status and all the data, I could identify what we could fix or improve and just get more understanding of our customers. And that was a pretty intensive project. We basically hired a business analyst, an expert business analyst actually, to help us with the entire process, because I think it's a pretty complicated thing. And I definitely didn't want to learn and do it on my own. I wanted to delegate a lot of this part. I still had a lot of involvement and a lot of work from my side. And finally, after almost 1.5 months of intensive work with this business analyst, a lot of involvement from our side, a lot of effort from our side, almost 15,000 euros spent in expenses, this project was a complete failure. But I kind of made it in a positive way, because I still learned everything possible about business analytics, conversion tracking, Google Analytics and dashboards and everything from our business analyst, because he would explain and kind of teach me all this stuff. But I also learned that all of these things, all these analytics and data tracking is complete bullshit and absolutely useless. So it was a wrong focus and a pretty expensive one. Now, our business analyst, he was great. He was actually an expert in his work, but I made the wrong hire. I hired the wrong person for the wrong project. And honestly, I'm still glad I did it, because the more expensive your investment and your mistake, the more intensively you learn. So at least I know exactly everything about this domain and what is useful, what is useless, and so on. Now, as part of this business analytics project, we also did a complete website redesign to make it look more professional by hiring a web designer for 2 months. Now, note that we had built our website and the whole payment process and everything ourselves from the very beginning. And it kind of looked like some amateurs put the site together. I'm an engineer, I'm no website designer, and neither is Nikki, my co-founder. But here's an interesting part. We had made over $1 million with our amateur looking website. And guess what happened after we made it beautiful and redesigned it with consistent colors and, professional looking design and everything? Nothing changed. The sales remained exactly the same. The conversions remained exactly the same, as if nothing had happened. So there was another lesson, which is, if you have a good product and good organic content, which is basically your marketing, your website won't make a difference. Same way, if you have a shit product, the website will not help you sell it either. You may tweak maybe 1 or 2% with some tips and tricks here and there, but well, I hope that's not your goal, because forcing something for 1 or 2% is not really the goal here. So after a few $1,000 in website redesign and 2 months spent on it, at least our website now looks pretty. So that's the result we got from that. In January, we also hired a DevOps engineer with a long-term contract. So he joined our team full-time, and we started onboarding him. He was doing student support, and in parallel, we were training him on course updates, which was the bulk of his full-time work. So the entire month goes by, then another month goes by, and there is absolutely no result in course updates from him. And it was frustrating for everyone, including him. What happened was probably the biggest and the most important lesson for any CEO. I hired a great senior engineer who was great at communicating with students, teaching, giving support, coaching, etc. And I gave him a task that was opposite of his strength. It's like buying a drilling machine and using it as a hammer to hammer nails instead of drilling holes. So he wanted to quit. At that time, I realized my mistake and I saved the situation by admitting to him that it was a wrong task and project for him, and I would like to keep him on board part-time to do only student communication as the main responsibility, and also introduced a new project which I had planned to do before that exactly matched his strength. As I said, he's a great engineer and I'm happy that he's still on our team. So whole January was a stressful painful learning of management mostly. The most important thing I learned though was that I am fully responsible for making sure that people that I hire do a good job. If they fail, it is directly my fault because either I hired a wrong person for the job or it was the wrong project that I prioritized. And again, I see it positively. The way I see it is I moved one giant step forward in the process of learning this super valuable skill for any CEO and business owner, which is setting the right priorities and hiring right people for those priorities. Now, February started out more positively. We reached 1 million subscribers on TechWorld with Nana YouTube channel, and what a crazy milestone that is. And fun fact, we actually gained 200,000 more followers in 2024. Now, when we hit that milestone, we actually tried to make the most out of this event and celebrate. Like, we did a crazy giveaway and celebrated with 1 million subscribers cake with family. The funny thing is, when you reach a milestone like million subscribers or becoming a millionaire and so on, you actually know it already a few months before that happens because you see the data, you see the analytics. So by the time that actually happens, you've already celebrated that multiple times for yourself. But from outside, from other people's perspective, it actually looks like these huge fireworks and you kind of play along. And what was the funniest was that we were monitoring, actually, we were live tracking when we would hit that 1 million subscribers. So in the morning, the day it was supposed to happen, Nikki and I sit down and we calculate in how many hours we will hit exactly 1 million. And it looked like 5 p.m. around. But at 3:30 p.m., we had an appointment with a kitchen planner for one of our rental properties where we were installing a new kitchen. So we're hoping we could be at home by the time to actually watch live and record as we hit the million. So what ends up happening, as we were planning the kitchen, which was taking long, I opened my laptop and I'm watching very anxiously as the subscriber count approaches 1 million. And at some point I realize it is gonna happen in like 20 minutes and we're not done with the planning. So I turn to our kitchen planner and I tell her, hey, we're about to hit 1 million subscribers on our channel and we need to record this live. So if you don't mind to kind of interrupt the process for a little bit. And she was actually thrilled and she starts cheering for us while continuing to put all the pieces together for a kitchen in this software. As we have 10 subscribers to go till million, she actually sends the link to our YouTube channel to her family WhatsApp chat saying, just subscribe now. So we had the live celebration in this huge kitchen store with our kitchen planner. That's how we basically celebrated this huge milestone and event. And later we kind of forced ourselves to take the time from work and do a small celebration with family to kind of appreciate reaching this milestone. Now, talking about rentals and kitchens. In February, we renovated one of our rentals completely for the first time. Because we always buy new fresh apartments, our full focus is on our business. So we do the investment basically on the side with minimal effort. But we had bought this few years ago in a great location in an old house. And when the tenant moved out in February, we basically inspected the apartment and discovered that the entire electricity and wiring needed replacement. And when you rip out electricity and wiring, you pretty much need to rip out everything in every room. And I wanted to make decisions fast because we had so much going on in our TechWorld business because, as I said, that's the main focus. So we made a decision to basically renovate the whole thing. And the whole process of finding the contractors, etc., I handed over to my assistant. Contractors for renovations in any specialization is just horrible. I think everybody, in every country in this world has the same experience. They're expensive, unreliable, you know nothing about electricity or plumbing, so they can do a shitty, low quality job, charge you a lot, and you won't even know. So fortunately, a good friend of mine is an architect. So she planned the whole thing, considering the new regulations and the design and everything. And she even brought the contractors we needed. And this definitely made our efforts 100 times less. And even with such help, we still had 2 contractors that left the work midway, who didn't finish, who went bankrupt. So we had to replace them and find new ones who would pick up the work from literally midway for different jobs. And this whole thing basically stretched a lot longer and cost more, a few tens of thousands of euros. But I'm actually happy we completed it successfully. And we also rented out, I think, within 1 day. Plus the whole renovation increased the value of the apartment, of course. So I still consider the project a success. Now, all these projects went on till May, with the most intensive one, as I said, being the DevSecOps bootcamp. And May brought some new highlights. First of all, we moved into our dream apartment, which was a project on its own, with all the interior furnishings and registering everything and so on. Again, I tried to minimize my efforts by delegating most of the tasks and making decisions fast instead of thinking about saving cost here and there. The same month, I also moved my office and we bought another rental apartment with a tenant in it. Now, as soon as we had some breathing room after all these projects finished, or most of the parts finished, especially after completing the majority of DevSecOps bootcamp, we started this new project, which was an IT career quiz that would bring people on the website to take the quiz and get the individualized learning path based on how they reply to our questions. It was a huge project. We worked on this for 3 weeks intensively, Nikki and I designed almost 50 individual paths to make it really customized for every person with different background. It was actually a real brain twist with all the combinations and details to consider. And after intensive hard work, we released it, we announced it on social media, and it failed. Considering the time and energy we invested, both of us, in this project, it was a complete failure. And a lesson learned here is many things you do in business will fail. And most of the things will fail, actually. And you need to accept that that's the price of experimenting 10 things, of which 9 will fail, but you will have one big win that will make the entire experimentation effort basically worth it. So you try out enough things until something works, and that makes all the failures worth it, which we did. Instead of being discouraged, we said, okay, what are other things that we can try that we think is a good idea, but still with the risk that they might fail, but also they might work. And we actually hit that big win right at the end of the year, but more on that later. Now, something that also worked really well as an experiment was implementing our CRM system in MailChimp, which was kind of a workaround because MailChimp is not really a CRM tool, but just thinking logically, we thought it made sense for us to build our internal processes with MailChimp as a source for all the data in one central place. And we built tons of automations with a tool like Zapier to get data from all our platforms that we use from, starting from Teachable, which is where we host our programs, our payment provider data, and few other software that we use. We also imported a lot of old data that we realized that we needed from these platforms into MailChimp. Some imports failed, as they do. So we had all this effort to clean up the data manually, entering missing information. Also manually, that was, I think, a couple of weeks of work, just manual cleanup of the data to have a clean baseline. And eventually we built this automated system with up-to-date data that is at the heart of our operations now. Now, you can think of this as having at least 2 to 3 employees that are sending out the emails to potential customers, maybe staying in touch with existing ones, sending them relevant information that they specifically need based on how they are grouped. Also entering correct data when something happens in the external systems, like a new customer buys our program, do an automatic smooth onboarding for every new student, and so on. And all of this done automatically 24/7, at night, on weekends and holidays. And anytime you want to know something, about a contact or a customer because they're asking questions, so you want to have like the full context to reply properly, you can just ask, hey, tell me all the details about this person, which products they have, which programs are they enrolled in, what type of resources they have downloaded, and so on. And you get ready answers. And that's the best thing to have running in the background, working for you automatically 24/7 every single day. As I said, as an important core piece of our business operations now. And when answering emails, our customer service employee now can check the context and give useful, fully informed reply instead of annoying the person, the customer or potential customer, with irrelevant or an unhelpful reply, which happened before. So now, equipped with all these learnings and many wins as well, we went into summer. And June was packed with new successful starts as well. A really big thing for me, which is meaningful for me long-term, was hiring my videographer team, who, number one, helped me start new channel, this one, which for me is a very long-term game. So it's very important that we started doing it. The way I see it, many entrepreneurs start vlogging when they are already super rich and super accomplished, and they start sharing their lessons learned in the hindsight. But I think it's limited because it's just a memory of what happened. So you don't really see the reality, especially the failures and the struggles that they went through. So in the middle of stressful quarter of doing multiple important projects, including moving our apartment, I started this channel because first, no excuses. I just wanted to start it as soon as we could. And second, it was actually kind of the best time to show the craziness and chaos when you have multiple projects open and trying to figure out your next steps and next priorities. And the second thing we did was set up a professional recording studio, which you're seeing right now. Now, I didn't know exactly what content I would record here, but I had a feeling it would be a really important long-term investment. Now, we have animated videos on TechWorld Nana. That's how we grew the channel. It was just animations and graphics. So every time we did a small talking head video snippet, it basically looked like this because we didn't know what we were doing. It was Nick and I, we didn't have any video editing or videography knowledge, and we just kind of winged it every time. And you would see on the quality, even though the content still made the video valuable, so the quality didn't really affect the feedback that much, I still wanted to have a way to just simply walk into a room, a recording room, where everything is fully set up, just switch on a camera and record any important content that I wanted to create for our community, which was in super high quality. I just wanted to have that improvement or that next level of development. And I'm super happy that we did that. This month, we also released a complete update of one of our smaller programs with a very successful relaunch campaign, which was the first of that type of product relaunch that we did, that we also tried as an experiment, and it worked. So now we will reuse the same type of relaunch campaigns for all our other courses. So that was another successful test or experiment that we made. In June, one of our engineers quit. And it's always painful when you lose a team member, whether you let them go or they quit, it doesn't matter. And she was doing a few important tasks actually, so we needed to find someone to take over pretty urgently actually. And we turned this uncomfortable situation into an advantage by asking ourselves, how can we make such handover smooth between any two engineers if this happens again in the future? So we train someone, we give them all the knowledge, they become better and they decide to leave. So now we have same training effort for the second person. And plus we have this time of handover, right? Where we're relying on one engineer to transfer their expertise to the next one. So to solve this problem sustainably, we created an onboarding course for TechWorld with Nana engineers in general, where we documented all the important tasks that engineers in our company are responsible for and need to do, and how to do them exactly. Like what a successful implementation of these tasks look like. Plus all the additional stuff like what accesses they need to which platforms, what tools we use internally in the company that they need access to. I also recorded a few Loom videos to explain and teach different things which were important. So instead of the engineer who was leaving, having a one-on-one session with the other engineer who needed to take over her tasks, we asked her to document all her tasks and how she was doing them, which we turned into this onboarding course that we expanded with our additional instructions, and then asked the other engineer to follow the course, onboarding course, and see if any information was missing, anything was unclear, so that we could improve the documentation and instructions to make the course complete before our first engineer left. So now, whether we get one new engineer in the team or 10, we don't need to train them one by one, and the whole knowledge is centralized in one place. So there's no experienced engineer in the team who has all the knowledge and you have to go to him to ask for things. Or if they leave, basically they take the whole expertise with them. It's all documented with links and accesses and clear instructions. We also made sure to make the access system more streamlined. Like when you have a new team member, you need to share accesses to various tools within your organization, right? The email access, the CRM, communication tools, and of course you can just give everyone admin access, so you have different roles and you define who has access to exactly what resources within which tool. Well, we are engineers, so of course this also needs to be done very securely. So our passwords and access aren't shared unsafely and aren't compromised. We basically selected the right tools and set up the entire system so that now when someone joins our team, whether it's an engineer or non-technical role, they get all the accesses securely within 1 or 2 days with minimum effort from our side, mostly automated, so they can get going right away. So as you see, this type of operational efficiency is extremely important for us. So whenever we identify this type of painful transition process or risk in the operations, we try to streamline or automate it right away. Now at this point, I realized we needed a little bit of time off because I love sun and palms and beach vibes. They just make me happy. So we decided to spontaneously fly to Crete for a holiday for a couple of days. And I actually used this trip as an opportunity to practice my vlogging skills as well. We also did some light work during the holiday as well, which is the best type of vacation for me. Having delicious local food, then work session, sunshine, swimming, some more work, maybe trips around the place. So the whole combination or hybrid work. And after this short recharge, in July, we had the Milestone. We officially launched this new channel. And it was a big highlight because I wanted to do this for a long time. So we posted the very first vlog video. I was a bit anxious. I didn't know how it would go, how the feedback would be. And even the recording of that first vlog or first 2 vlogs actually drained all the energy from me because I wanted it to be really good and perfect. I had to remind myself, better done than perfect, which took some pressure away. But the most important thing is to just start. And I try to remind myself all the time whenever I'm thinking about new projects, because you can always make it better and better later. But if you never start, you never build a foundation on which to improve on. And starting something new is always intimidating and it's always an immense effort. Like you need to put in much more effort in starting something new than just maintaining or continuing something that's working. And in order to visualize this, it's basically like pushing a giant stone uphill. You just need to do it long enough so at some point you reach the top of the momentum so you can let go and the stone will just roll down effortlessly on the other side. It's always like that. But the hardest part is not pushing the stone. It's actually not knowing how long you need to push before you reach that point. So many people give up right before they reach the point because they get frustrated. And I actually learned over the years to become extremely patient with the results. I just put my head down and keep pushing this giant stone because I know that the tipping point is coming at some point. And in our business right now, I would say that we are still on the upward slope. So you're actually seeing the hard part. We're not in the effortless mode yet, which is basically like live streaming on social media while pushing the stone uphill and sharing exactly what you feel, what are your struggles, your wins, your motivation, demotivation, so you show a more realistic picture of how it is. Now, in August, there were some really bright moments. First of all, we bought our dream car, which was kind of a spontaneous decision, and I will actually reveal the car in one of the future vlogs. We haven't picked it up yet. The car is being delivered this month in January, hopefully. So we haven't even seen it live yet. It has been being built. Apart from that, I was more excited about this next highlight, which was setting up this professional badass recording studio in my office that I mentioned. So in August, my videographers and I converted one whole room in my office into this studio. And probably unlike that dream car that we bought, this was an amazing investment. And I'll tell you why in a minute. August, we also passed 200,000 followers on LinkedIn, which was another crazy milestone. And by the way, this was without any LinkedIn, the social media hacks and tips and tricks and any real specialized knowledge in how to grow LinkedIn community. It was basically just posting and sharing what we thought was valuable content, and the building community kind of took care of itself. In this month, I also visited my brother and his family in Italy, which was such a fun trip. I don't see my nieces very often, so it was so enjoyable to spend some quality time with them. Plus, beautiful nature, sea, food, of course, all of these with great people. So that was another real highlight for me. And of course, there are no times or periods without any hiccups or problems. August was not an exception. Tenants of 2 different apartments actually had quit at the same time. So we needed to rent those apartments out again. Fortunately, we managed to let both flats in literally a week with very high demand. And this actually proves that our investment, very simple and basic investment strategy of just buying apartments in the best locations of the city was wise, because you see the reflection of that in super high demand whenever you're offering your apartment. With that, we approached the last quarter of 2024. Now, I hope you're not tired yet, because we have some more really important and useful learnings. September. Well, after completing this massive project of DevSecOps, launching it to the entire community and announcing it everywhere, and again setting up the entire automations for student onboarding and so on, we started a new huge project which I believed would push the stone forward the most. So I researched and learned for around 2 weeks very intensively with laser focus to identify what would be the major priority that would help us the most. And I got to the product market fit as the main core thing. So we engaged an expert in product market fit for customer discovery process. So she basically did an extensive research and customer discovery, and we got some of the most valuable insights as a result. And more importantly, finally found out how happy people were with our programs with very specific points. Because we knew the general feedback that, people loved it and they were recommending it to other people, but we didn't know exactly the reasons why they loved it, or what was the best thing about our programs, or even who these people actually were, what was their background, who were the customers that we were serving the best. After this project, I then went and analyzed every single conversation and feedback and the background and full context of our students, and got a very clear image of who we were serving and what we were doing for them and why they were so happy with the results. And as you will see in just a minute, this was an extremely important building block of a very successful thing that we built. But before that, in September, we also did a very quick 2-day trip to Berlin. I gave a talk there, met some great people, and again, used the chance to practice my vlogging skills even more and basically getting comfortable vlogging, especially in public. Now, I believe vlogging is not natural, at least for my generation and above. It's not natural to talk into camera during activities or while walking around in public. I think it's very intrusive at first. So you need to practice and get used to it, just putting in the reps if you want to make it natural over time. Because vlogs have so much value of documenting in real time the event, the emotions, the authentic experience, which you can't really reproduce by telling what happened from memory. And that Berlin vlog actually turned out absolutely amazing. I was super happy when I saw the final edit. We had another milestone in September. We fully updated our flagship product, the largest one that we have, called DevOps Bootcamp. I think we started updating this mid-2023. So yeah, it took a long time. Now, here's the thing. Most education providers do not update courses because it's so hard to do it consistently. So they create new ones rather than updating the existing ones because it's easier. So back in 2023, we created a system to streamline any course or bootcamp updates, but not just the videos, the handouts, the checklists, the Git repositories where the code is hosted, all the accompanying materials basically. And we hired a very capable engineer who is working full-time on updates in our TechWorld, and we made the process so efficient that it takes me just few hours a month of my time to do such huge updates consistently. Even though it's me teaching the lectures in every course, so it's still my voice, my explanations, and we still managed to do most of these updates without my involvement. Now, it was a difficult challenge. I remember Nikki and I were working on setting up the process logically first, going through the logical flow and then technical implementation. And we were brainstorming and designing this whole system for the whole month very intensively, thinking of every single detail and structure and communication, because at least 3 people are involved in every course and bootcamp update. So there's a lot of collaboration needed there. And it was a real mind twist because there were a million things to consider. But we knew that if we got this thing right with 1 month effort, we would reduce my time investments and we could keep all our programs up to date continuously. So it works like a well-oiled machine now. And I'm super happy we dedicated that 1 entire month to doing that. Now, after the customer discovery project results from September, the next big thing we needed to do to scale our business and revenue was to make our target group avatars specific. So instead of this generic offer, we could create very specific offers. Now, this took me the whole October to do intensive analysis and understand deeply our ideal customers. And this was also a very hard job. It was a tedious, manual, just not a fun job, I would say. Now, imagine you are a CEO of a multi-million-dollar business and you're working hours every day analyzing data manually with in-depth, updating some spreadsheets and just doing these boring data analytics, basically, but with a lot of quality data. So you can't automate a lot of this stuff. Now, many will think, I'll just outsource it. I'll just delegate it to my assistant or some customer service person, or let's just put it in ChatGPT and let it summarize all this stuff. Or many will say, I'm the CEO. I shouldn't be doing such boring work. I should have the privilege to basically choose to work on the fun stuff, right? Well, the way I see it, knowing your customers deeply, not just, they want great value fast, that's their need, but what is their backgrounds, what motivates them to learn engineering specifically, what demotivates them, where do they hesitate, and what is exactly their integration points with our programs. And knowing this and creating solutions accordingly is literally the thing that drives business. So I, as a CEO, should be working on the most important thing, no matter how tedious it is. And I didn't take shortcuts. I did it with quality, manually analyzing every single data point, because I wanted to have those nuances and not generalize the data. And it was actually a very valuable time investment. Now, learning something is only valuable if you put it into action. So as soon as I was done with this analysis, now equipped with so much valuable deep knowledge about different groups of our customers, I created a chain of videos addressing the pain points, the reward points, educating and explaining things that I knew from analysis that they were doubtful about, giving value endlessly, teaching and delivering value based on, again, what I knew that they wanted to know, while also explaining how our program would address the issues they had. I used stories from successful engineers that we heard about to motivate the ones who were just getting started. I saw many engineers had a will, they wanted to do it, but they didn't have time to learn intensively without sacrifice their personal life and free time. So I came up with a solution for them specifically to solve this problem based on the examples I had seen from other engineers in our programs, and recorded this solution suggesting them exactly how to handle this, which was basically how to pitch and convince their employer to learn at work as a win-win situation instead of sacrificing all of their free time for learning, as well as giving them insights and explaining trends of engineering job market and career advice, which were all the things that I saw that these people were always asking and interested about. So basically I just created this educational material around these topics. And I scripted and recorded around 20 plus videos, and from those videos, we created an email automation chain in MailChimp to schedule them weekly and basically to send it out to our content. And instead of boring text-based emails, which I never read personally, sending value-packed emails with videos inside them. Plus we used Loom, so we can actually see the views, like how many people actually watch the video, and people can leave comments and feedback and the reactions, so you see exactly how valuable your content is, or which video resonated the best, or which video was the most informative for different people, and so on. Now, this is email marketing for us, not spamming people with stuff that you want to sell, but rather delivering value without expecting anything, but also informing them about your products, so at least they're aware. But I also learned with PMF, or product market fit, that if you need to push your product down someone's throat and use 150 sales and marketing tricks to sell your stuff, your product or offer is just not good enough. You shouldn't have to need so much effort and force to sell your stuff if they're really good, which means you don't have a product market fit. So instead of working on marketing and sales and trying to push people to manipulate them to buy your stuff, you should go back and fix your product. You can get feedback from your customers directly and ask them how to make it better. They usually very honestly give feedback, and that's why I think customer feedback is extremely valuable, especially when you don't have the product market fit. Now, I think the product market fit actually is a range and not a binary thing. So it's not that either you have it or not, it's more about you may have a weak product market fit, so you can make it better and better with feedback and iterations and improvements. Now, this was the first time we ever did our version of email marketing while having 42,000 contacts. So we had all these people who were signing up for different reasons, but we never, really sent them any emails because we just didn't have any strategy for it. So we were focusing our very limited resources on some other stuff. And I'm actually glad we delayed it and did it properly our way, consistent with our brand of delivering tons of free value and then offering paid programs that again give tons of value. And it's also reflected average 46% open rates and amazing feedback that we get on those videos that we send out. Then I learned another cool thing, which is when you get a new customer, there is what's called a buyer's remorse, which is your customer basically doubting whether they just made a right decision or not. So that made me think, selling doesn't stop when you make the sale. You actually need to keep selling, delivering not only value, but conviction that they made the right choice, and to also convince them to make the most out of your product. Plus, in parallel, by doing this analysis of our customers, I actually saw that many engineers who enrolled and needed our program and help immensely often didn't make it past 10%. And I thought, what a waste of potential. You have the resource, you just bought a resource and you have the need, and it's exactly the right resource to address your need. Why aren't you using it? Why aren't you making the most of it? So I wanted them to actually do the program, to go past 10% and 50% and actually get the value that we were giving. So that in the end, they would be happy, they would look back and think, I'm so glad I didn't give up and actually did it. So I analyzed again and I tried to understand what are the reasons why someone would stop and give up midway or right at the beginning, and I recorded a series of videos to offer solutions and motivation for each possible obstacle or impediment to absolutely make sure they complete the program and get the most out of it. I also saw, based on my analysis and interviews, that those people who completed our bootcamp got so much value that they would tell on average 4 to 5 people around them and recommend our bootcamp to them. So selfishly, I thought if I motivate them to actually complete the whole thing, they would get the value and they would tell others and recommend it. So that was another motivation for me to again record 20 plus videos addressing all these different impediments, different ways of motivating, different ways of encouraging, as well as more technical details, summaries and so on. And I basically carefully scripted all these videos with lots of insights, and the feedback was amazing. So now we ended up with this incredible, consistent experience of someone discovering our channel, our YouTube channel and videos, getting value from them for free, signing up to get a free resource, again, something valuable, which would trigger an automated continuation of getting more valuable videos as a non-customer to build trust. And once they became our customer, another automated continuation of getting motivation, information, and drive to actually get to the end of the program and really get the results. And as a DevOps and automation engineer, nothing makes me happier than seeing this type of efficient, streamlined, beautiful process, basically, that just runs all the time with the same results. So now that process will produce happy customers who become our biggest fans, and they spread the word about how amazing our programs are. And that again can be summarized into main advice that when you fix the right things, the hard things become easier. Now, I have to say this is the second proudest achievement this year, not only for the effect, but the speed of execution. Because Nikki and I built this huge email sequence that runs for over half a year, almost every single week, with quality materials and just value after value in just 2 months, doing authentic emails, not some polished ones from email marketing expert. And by the way, if I had to hire someone for email marketing, I would hire an engineer who represents our target group to help with it, and not an email marketing expert who knows nothing about our customers and our market. So that was one learning that I got from hiring experts for different things. Now in November, another painful event happened. Our executive assistant quit. because our business was not the best fit for her skills, which is true actually, because she was amazing in some areas, but she was less skilled in tech in general and social media. And considering that we are a tech company with extensive media focus, yes, it was not a good fit. Now, considering that executive assistant manages 1,000 small things around you, so you don't have to think about them, I was a bit nervous about the transition process before we hired the new one. But again, we used this as an opportunity to create another onboarding course for an EA at TechWorld specifically, and saw it as an opportunity to find someone with stronger technical and media and also hiring skills. So both previous and the new EA actually worked perfectly together, making this transition as smooth as possible. And now we have a fully documented onboarding for EA tasks with very detailed instructions, all the accesses, all the tools, all the things they need in one place, which again makes the operational part of our business much better. And it also just reduces the risk of someone leaving your company. So when you hire a new person, the onboarding is just a breeze, right? It's just super simple. Now, this year, I improved one important skill in hiring, which I actually became way better at interviewing candidates, whether it's engineers or non-technical people or EAs and so on. I learned how to define exactly what I'm looking for the role and ask really good questions to find out whether they are a good candidate. I usually do long interviews, very in-depth, but after the interview, I know exactly if it's a yes or no, which makes the decision making much easier and also faster. Whereas before, when I hired someone, I just thought, I don't know if it's the right choice. Let's just hire them and see what happens within the next, 1 or 2 months. So it was kind of like flipping the coin. So for the first time, I used this new strategy to hire our new EA, and I'm very confident that we found a good fit, and so far everything looks good. Another great win, which was a hard-earned win, was that in November we had a record sales because of Black Friday. And it was the first time we did that because we have premium programs, so we don't really use discounts. And the big part of successful Black Friday was the preceding emails that we built in the previous month of giving value every single week with those emails. So we had built an immense trust already, and people were absolutely thrilled to get in with a discount. In December, I created tons of valuable content in my studio. So what happened is somehow I had much more creativity and motivation to create content because of the new studio. I literally scripted and recorded almost 40 videos in the last 3 months, but also with high quality. Like I usually rewrite my script multiple times until it's perfect and more importantly, valuable. So it needs to be informative, it needs to be fun, engaging. Usually I try to use storytelling, so it needs to be a combination of all of those. Get it to that perfect state, I usually have to rewrite parts of the script multiple times. So 40 such quality videos for email lists, both YouTube channels, basically for all different platforms, which was the most videos and content I have ever produced in such a short time. As I said, my videographers literally set up everything. So I just walk in my studio, turn on the lights, hit the record, and it looks great. And I can focus on delivery instead of the technical details, which I have no idea about. It's amazing when things work out that well. Another great highlight was that my mom visited in Vienna. I surprised her with a trip to Salzburg and had some quality time with her because I usually see her just once a year. So that was definitely a good ending of the year. In December, we also did some further improvements to our main program, the Devil's Bootcamp, based on all the analyses of students and their feedback that I did previously. For example, I saw many people struggled with consistent learning, so we added very detailed, deliberate learning schedule for them to follow. Plus, we also added some useful resources to save time during learning, like using AI for troubleshooting. And again, we got amazing, great feedback on those improvements. Now, I believe you can never go wrong by giving more and more value to your customers, and eventually it always pays off. Because again, if you make your customers really happy, like just showering them with all the value that you can give them and really helping them with your solution, they just become basically your marketing department spreading the word, so you don't have to do it, or you have much less effort in doing it. And finally, we celebrated Christmas, which is my absolute favorite holiday, and made sure to zoom out a little bit and set the priorities for 2025. And as you can guess, this momentum will continue because I have much more ideas and things that we can create, value we can share, and importantly, perfecting our PMF with even more feedback and more improvements. And as part of that, in December, we also kicked off search for a customer success manager / product owner who will be full-time helping to perfect our product market fit and customer satisfaction. And we're also looking for another full-time engineer. So TechWorld Nano team is expanding. Now, we are very conservative about hiring because I believe a small team of very good people is more efficient than larger team of average people. So this might be the last 2 hires this year, let's see. But that will be our main focus in January and February, to hire and onboard this completely new role that we have never had before. But overall in 2025, I'm actually doubling down on work on motivation. Instead of taking a break after we've done all these improvements and building efficient business processes, now I want to actually double down and just scale it as much as possible. As I mentioned, we moved into our dream apartment this year. We bought a dream car. We built the processes in our business and built a team to make sure everything runs smoothly, even without us. So we kind of reduced the dependence of the business on us, which means we could be chilling now, or traveling more and enjoying more free time, just doing some light work maybe, and taking the foot off the gas, moving with comfortable pace. But I won't be doing that because when you have a drive, I think slowing down is just too boring. So I feel alive when I'm expanding, having new ideas, overcoming challenges, learning new things, increasing my impact on the world, and basically seeing that progress. So the way I see it, I've created the solid foundation to now build a giant, exciting building or construction on top of it. And many people, including my family and friends, they think I've made it with all the fame and financial success and all the achievements, but I personally really feel like I have just started. And I'm more motivated than ever to keep going and do even more, to have more impact on the world and just use much more of my potential and my brain capacity for just many years or decades to come. So I have no idea how crazy 2025 will be, what incredible things will happen, but I believe it will be a great, phenomenal year. So cheers and see you in the next one.